Hey guys, welcome to the 2 a.m. pipe on the patio. Today, smoking my old meerschaum with some cross-eyed cricket, which I am thoroughly enjoying. A little cooler today. It's in the high 80s. Got the fan blowing, that helps a lot. Hope it's not too blowing on the microphone. So yesterday Sadie came over and she said, "Come on, Dad, you and I are going to go get our fishing licenses." And I was going to wait till December when I turned 65 so I could get my senior citizen license, which is for a year it's $9, or you can get a lifetime for $55. So I was just going to wait till December when I turned 65. And she says, "No, I want to go fishing with you, so let's go get our license. My treat." So I said, "Okay." And so we went down to Sportsman's Warehouse, and we both got our fishing licenses because she's wanting to go fishing with me. She messaged me a couple weeks ago and she says, "Dad, I want to go fishing with you." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "Well, we need to get our fishing licenses if we're going to go." And she says, "Okay." I said, "I got, fishing poles and all this, everything we'll need to go. We just need to get our fishing licenses." So yesterday she came over to the house. She says, "Come on, Dad, we're going to go get our fishing license." And so we went and got our fishing license, and then we came home, and she and McKinley and Denny went out and had a girls' day afterwards. McKinley had an appointment to get her hair cut, so they went and did that, and then they went and had lunch. We just made a girls' day out of it. So that was nice. Everybody had a good day yesterday here. It's really nice here in Virginia. They have an app for your phone where you can set it up, and all your license stuff is on your phone. So you don't actually have to carry your license with you. And like I actually have my license and Sadie's license on my phone. So when we'll go fishing, a ranger or a wildlife warden stops us, I can just pull out my phone and show them my license and Sadie's license. they can scan the little QR code. All our information comes up. Our driver's license comes up, so they can make sure we are who we're saying we are. It's pretty cool. I know when I lived in California and I got a license one time and I lost my license, I had to actually buy a new license. They couldn't just replace my license when I lost my license, which was ridiculous. And licenses weren't cheap either. I mean, they were here you have to have a freshwater license and a trout license, and they're each $23. And then you can get, a saltwater license and a national park license. The national park license is $4. And the saltwater license is $7. I don't fish in the saltwater, so I don't need one of those. And I don't go into the national parks to fish, so I don't need one of those. But in California, it's, it was like $57 for the freshwater, and then if you're going to fish with more than one pole, it was an additional 20, and each little thing was, an additional. So it was like $75 to get a license in California or something like that for all the things I wanted. If you wanted to have 2 poles in the water, it was, you had to pay for each pole. So it was a lot of money. And then I lost my license. I had to go buy a whole new license. That was back 20 years ago when that happened. I don't know if they've changed it at all. And the license went from January to December. So if you got a license in June, your license was only good from June to December. And you paid full price. Where here, your license is good from the day you buy it. Like I bought it on July 5th, or July 6th, and it's good until July 5th of next year. So it's good for a full calendar year. And I hated that about California, because if you bought it in the middle of the year, it was only good for half a year. You paid the full price for it. But in California, you could fish all year long because you had good weather there. But that was fun. Sadie, it was nice of Sadie to do that. And so we're looking forward to going out on a weekend here. And going out fishing and spending some time together. And we used to go fishing when she was little. And I'd always take like a baggie of corn to just kind of chum the waters a little bit. And she'd always wind up just sitting and eating the corn out of the bag. She didn't do a whole lot of fishing. Every once in a while I'd snag a fish and I'd hand her the pole, and all of a sudden she'd go, I got a fish. And I said, well, pull it in, roll it in, So, trying to get her excited about fishing. Where she'd just rather eat the corn out of the bag than do any real fishing. And the same with McKinley. I'd catch a fish, I'd hook a fish, and I'd hand her the pole and let her reel it in. But she'd just like, you caught it, I didn't catch it. She was just too smart. Like, well, you caught it, I just reeled it in. I didn't really catch it, I used to fish off the Coronado Pier in San Diego, which was my favorite place to fish. I always did really well there. And I'd fish for barred sand bass. And I'd just use, plastic shad, little gray and black plastic shad. And I'd just slay on that pier all the time. Everybody else that was out there was using cut bait. And they'd go out and they'd throw the bait out, and then they'd just sit and wait for something to catch, to get caught on it. I'd go out there with these little bass poles and use little plastic black and gray shad. And a couple times I went out there and guys would say, "Hey, you're not going to catch anything out here with that," and I'd say, "Okay." And it never failed. I'd cast out, and I'd cast towards shore. They were always casting out towards, deep water, and I'd cast towards shore because I was going for barred sand bass, and I wasn't looking for big fish. I was just looking to catch fish. I'm allergic to fish, so I don't keep any fish I catch. I'm just looking to catch fish. And so I'd cast towards the shore, and this one day this guy said, "You're not going to catch anything with that." He kind of laughed, and I said, "Okay." In the first cast, I caught a barred sand bass, and I pulled it in, and he kind of looked at me like, "Well," and then the next cast, caught another one, and it was like the first 6 casts I casted out, I caught 6 barred sand bass. And he comes over and he says, "What are you using?" And I said, "You can't catch anything with this stuff." He just kind of looked at me, and I said, "No, I'm just using black and gray plastic shad." I said, "You want a couple?" And he says, "Yeah." And so I gave him a couple, and I said, "I'm just hooking it, like Texas rigs," and gave him a couple hooks and bullet weights, and showed him how I was hooking it up. And he started catching a couple, and so it was just fun, because the rest of the guys were just casting out these big chunks of cut bait, sitting there waiting, and we're out here with little bass poles and catching fish. We're actually catching fish. We're not waiting. We're actually fishing. It was just a fun night. I think I wound up with 12 fish that night, and he got a couple, and he was like, "Man, I didn't think you could catch anything with plastics out here." And I said, "That's the only thing I fish with out here. So I come out here and I'm just fishing for bass, barred sand bass out of the ocean, out of the bay." It was the bay. I said, "Bass or bass?" And he said, "I didn't even know there were bass out here." I said, "Oh yeah." And but that was a fun night. But I used to fish there all the time. I'd go there with my nephew, and we'd just catch barred sand bass all night long because nobody fished for them, and so they were. So they were easy to catch because they were seeing stuff they never saw, So we just cast out, and then you just lift up off the bottom. Boom, they'd hit it. It was so much fun. But I haven't done a lot of fishing here. I fished the river here, and I haven't caught anything. I've only fished it a couple times. So I need to figure out what they're hitting on here and how to fish it. And there's some nice lakes here that I need to go to. Carvin's Cove and Smith Mountain Lake. Need to go fish those. And so I'll be doing that. Doing a lot of that. I just picked up an old Penn 209 that I'll be using as a catfish reel. I got one reel without a rod, one rod without a reel, and I'll be using that as my catfish rod. And I got a nice little old Penn 209 on eBay today. And I'll just use that as my catfish rod and reel. I had a nephew that kid was just the catfishingest son of a gun I ever met in my life, man. He'd go to this little lake in San Diego, and he was probably 9 years old at the time, something like that. And he'd go up to this lake, and he'd come home with the biggest dang catfish every single time. Catfish was almost as big as he was. It was amazing. He just I used to love watching those kids go out and fish. And he could catch little bluegill just using a gold hook. He wouldn't put any bait on it or anything. He'd just put a little gold hook on line and just hold it in his hand. He wouldn't even have a pole. We'd go to Santee Lakes, and he'd take a little tiny little gold hook, just a little tiny little treble hook, put little tiny line on it, little like 2-pound test, and he'd see these little bluegills swimming around near the edge of the lake, and he'd take that line with the gold treble hook and he'd just put it in front of the bluegill, and they'd just bite it, and he'd hook them, and wouldn't even have bait on it. They'd just go after those gold hooks. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen, man. And then he'd just unhook them, throw them back in, go in, get another one. He'd get 20, 25 little bluegills, just one right after the other. Just on these little teeny tiny little gold treble hooks. Used to just love watching him do it, man. It was amazing to watch. I guess they thought they were little worms or something. And you just drop them down in front of them and they'd suck them right in their mouths. And you'd pull them in and unhook them and throw them back. Go catch another one. Ah, good times. But anyway, I'm looking forward to getting out, doing some fishing. I'll catch you guys later. I'm almost done with this pipe. And I'll catch y'all later. Have a good one.